Standing by, YouTube. You gonna do your thing? There we are. All right, folks. Welcome to the live stream. We're doing it on a Sunday night, and I'm about 90% sure I'm going to be doing them on Sunday nights from here on out. Typically, I was doing the Friday night live because I did not train jujitsu ever on Fridays because of the way that class structure is set up. But Coach recently changed that and the way he's conducting Friday classes, which means I'm going to get an extra day of the week to be able to go train. So I'm going to do that, especially because I've got a buddy who wants to train with me. So kind of looking like Sunday nights are going to be workable for the weekly live streams. Still kind of playing around with the structure, but I do have a fairly thought out and researched topic to bring to you guys tonight. But let me cover a little bit of farm news first. I got lambs everywhere, everywhere. So beginning at the first of the week, when we had that first real cold snap and some snow, lambs started arriving. We have had four, I'm going to double check myself here. Yes. 4 sets of twins, 2 singles. And that was the last, the count at last check about an hour ago. So everybody is doing well. They are all very robust looking, good sized. Nobody's real small. Nobody's had any issues with, not being able to nurse or anything like that. And so far, these are all coming from the adult lamb or the adult ewes that, they've had many pregnancies and they've all been proven to be good mothers. So with this particular round of lambing, I have not been overly concerned, especially now that I've got one season of lambing under my belt in really bad weather last year. So what is yet to be determined is how well the yearlings do. So the ones that should lamb probably early spring is my best estimate. So we'll see how those do. But generally, genetically, if you got a strong mother, you wind up with strong offspring and good mothering instincts to the next. So we'll see how that goes. But good grief, at this rate, I'm going to have 50 sheep up here by summertime. This is a lot of sheep. So we are currently at 29 sheep, and I expect. Let's see. I have to go back and check the notes. Angel does the bookkeeping on this, fortunately, because Lord knows I wouldn't write it down. About, let's see, so there have been 6 births. So we've got about 4 or 5 of the adult ewes left to go, right off the top of my head. So yeah, but everybody's doing good. Primrose, the donkey, is a little bit perplexed right now. She's been a little moody. So we're kind of keeping a close eye on her. I don't think she's sick or anything like that. I think she is just a little bit exasperated with all of the new activity and all of the extra noise with, lambs calling to their moms quite a bit. So we're kind of watching her, making sure she's not going to be problematic. But I've been, getting in the paddock with her more than usual. Bringing her treats, reinforcing good behavior, got her halter on her, decided to put that on, and I've just kind of been gently, holding that and leading her around a little bit, just kind of reminding her that she's not exactly running the show over there, that she does need to kind of listen. And so I think we'll be all right, but I am keeping an eye on things. Like I said, we had we didn't have a super cold spell. That's actually coming tonight. We've got this real cold coming in tonight. But we had snow last weekend, 3 or 4 inches of it, nothing too crazy. And this time around, it seemed like people were more prepared. But we didn't get into these, near zero temps like last year. So folks were able to get out. They salted and brined the roads well in advance. You could tell that a lot of the local landscapers went out and bought plows after last year, and looks like they went out and made some money because it was like everybody's parking lot was clear too, not just the roads, but parking lots and driveways and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully those guys did well and made at least made back their money on what they bought. So that's the way things seem to be going around here. We just get more snow now. We get colder and we get a little bit more snow. So permaculture teaches us that we should design for the extremes, because the extremes seem to be coming with a little more frequency and certainly a lot more, just downright bonkers weather, as we have seen. I mean, tornadoes in January, and everything that happened up in the Appalachian Mountains. So be thinking about designing for the extremes. We're going to see pretty much single digits. I think 7-8 degrees, single digits coming up the next few nights. We're not going to get out of the 20s for the high for a few days in a row. So we'll, we got plenty of firewood and all that good stuff. We've got the heat tape on the water lines and, extra fuel for the generators and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm kind of the type where once the holidays are over, I'm good. We can just go ahead straight in the spring at that point. I'm totally fine with that. But we got a couple months left of putting up with this. The rest of the animals have all been doing fine. Just before the sun went down, I stuffed a bunch of extra hay in for the rabbits, and I got them nice and cushioned. All the rabbits are up in hutches and cages right now. Nobody's on the ground. So we've got a couple of spots worth running their tractors through on some fescue and whatnot, but not with all this snow and everything. I've just got them up off the ground with plenty of hay to burrow into. So they'll be in pretty good order. Chickens are just pretty much, they come out, they eat, they scratch around for a little bit, and then by about 4 o'clock, they just go back to bed. they just go back in the coop. They're pretty much over it. These chickens definitely are not digging winter weather at all. So I think I got you guys caught up. Been a lot of had a little bit of work, which is nice, because eating is good. But mostly I've been home, and it's been kind of like reorganization central around here. Cleaned out the high tunnel since we got the roof and everything finished on the woodshed. Moved the rest of the wood to the woodshed. Got the high tunnel set up to be a little more convenient for outside tasks, sharpening chains, that sort of thing. A little bit of woodworking. I do a lot of hand tool work this time of year, just kind of like get the rust off stuff, sand handles, stain things, oil, sharpen, all that kind of good stuff. So I've been kind of working my way through that when it's been, when I can use my hands when it's not too dang cold. So lots of organizing. And then earlier today, I told Angel, I was like, we have got to, for those who don't know, we have a tiny house. It's pretty small. It's a 440 square foot cabin. And in the living room, we had like this long bookshelf acting as also a coffee table, but I had it blocked one end. So when I want to sit on the couch, if Angel is on her end of the couch and has her feet up, I have to kind of climb over her. And I told her a few days ago, I said, we've got to change this out somehow. So this is, if I'm going to be inside more, I can't feel like I'm constantly climbing over you, which I'm pretty sure she was not a fan of either. So we did a little bit of rearranging, switched out some shelves and stuff between stuff that was in the bedroom, stuff that was in my shop here. And I can now just get to my side of the couch, which is like small victory, but kind of a big deal this time of year when it's the both of us in the house together a lot. Good for the marriage to not feel like you're constantly running into one another. So went through my loft the other day, did the thing where I was like, oh, I have that, found all kinds of stuff I'd forgotten I had, useful things too, which weren't doing me any good, stuffed up in the loft. So organized that, pulled out some stuff that probably going to go up on Facebook Marketplace, and just unjunking, especially the shop right now. All right, Hippocrates Garden is here. Good to see you, my friend. Wondering how Arkansas is doing. You guys got snow, if I'm not mistaken. That last system actually dove pretty deep south, if I'm not out of my gourd on that one. So, all right, let me whistle here, practice my speaking, and we're going to dive into the tremendous irony of the topic that I have picked out, and it's one of the reasons why I've rescheduled this live stream so many times, because I couldn't talk about this if I was in a bad mood. I've just been a little grumpy lately. So I titled the video Flow State Farming, because alliteration. And I wanted to, this is applicable to really anything. Anything where you have a lot of daily tasks, where you have a lot of mixed variety of work and that sort of thing. So this can apply. You could use this potentially in some things, at least, your job, other tasks, housework, homesteading, anything really. So this year, I'm not a resolution person. I don't give a crap. There is a part of me that is still so very burned out by, I went a little overboard many years ago on kind of like the self-help, self-improvement stuff. And I actually managed to burn myself out on it a little bit, but I do like to set a certain amount of intention and do, acknowledge what I did well at in the past year, and recognize what I would like to improve upon without it being some kind of cringy thing, really. So flow state farming, homesteading, whatever you want to call it. I define the flow state as, I'm going to refer to my notes real quick, operating and being immersed in that task and the task that you are doing in that moment without the sensation of needing to hurry or take shortcuts. Now, this is important to me because I am not patient at all. Especially when it comes to like doing stuff. I can be patient with people, maybe a little too patient actually. But when it comes to being patient with myself, with stuff that I'm doing, I recently recognized that I have a lot of leftover, how do I put this? I have a lot of leftover habits, mental habits from working on the ambulance. That particular, the way we ran, the way they still run that system, it's not like you, it's not like you sit in the station and you go take a call and you take them to the hospital and you go back to the station. No, it wasn't like that at all. It was constant movement and constant information coming at you via radio, via whatever your partner's talking about. What if you're handling a call, you've got a patient or patients, you've got family, you've got maybe facility staff, you've got the people that you're handing them over to at the hospital, the nursing home, or wherever you're going. And it's just like you are kind of constantly juggling this whole interaction. And there is so much that is actually out of your direct circle of control. And so, ironically, I got really good, if I say so myself, at regulating my my patience. I got really into stoicism the last few years on the ambulance. It was very useful to me. But there is still a part of me that can get very I can get real tense and just real short-tempered about stuff. In my defense, it does run in the family. We are Irish, and and in the homesteading realm, things are constantly breaking, and you're constantly fixing them. And I have it working against me that I don't like fixing stuff that much, especially machinery, mechanical stuff. I'm getting better at it. I'm getting more comfortable, but I never look forward to doing it. So that leads to me being aggravated, frustrated, and things like that. So I realize that, for the most part, I am like I kind of mentioned on my last episode, very much enjoying overall my life now, the way I do things, the way I get to coordinate things, and when I'm on a job, like when I'm on an installation or whatever, I'm actually on a customer's property. I actually don't ever feel rushed. This is typically an issue here when I'm working on things around the farm. And my best guess is because when I'm on a job, I know exactly what I need to be doing. I know exactly the protocol and everything that needs to happen, and a general idea of what order it needs to happen in. So I can be focused. As you guys know, I'm sure, especially those of you who maybe started working from home in 2020, you are constantly inundated with everything you see that needs to be fixed, repaired, you know, trashed, whatever the case may be. It's constant input. There are also, there's your family there too, and they are, they have things they need, they may need help with or may have questions about and so forth. Like Angel's trying to get the taxes done right now, and bless her heart, if she didn't do them, I'd probably just wind up in jail because I would probably just give some poor accountant a pile of receipts and say good luck. um, but so there's times where I'll be working on something and she will need something answered, so that I have to pause what I'm doing and not get frustrated. Not fair to get frustrated with her when she's doing something that is very much for her a labor of love and not something that she's actually crazy about. And we're getting pretty close. We're probably going to hand most of this over to a professional, but she still keeps the books, even if somebody else does the taxes. So all that to say, I realize that I want to spend more time enjoying whatever it is I'm doing, even mundane tasks. It doesn't have to be because I'm laying out a brand new food force or something. It can be the very, very mundane. It could be pulling weeds. It could be repairing something, whatever the case is. And once I dug further, so I decided to dig into what interrupts that state, like what interrupts my desire to be in that flow state. And it actually has a lot to do with being afraid that I'm making a mistake. I did not realize like how embedded this was like in my head. But for instance, like if something breaks on, we'll use the Jeep for example, because it likes to, actually a real life example from recently. I have been running errands in the Jeep with the trailer and made my last stop of the day about a mile from the house. And when I was coming back out of the store, I realized that I lost the bearings in a wheel on a wheel of the trailer. Cap was gone. You could see cotter pin and everything and the castle nut. And I was like, well, that's not good. That's a problem. But in the moment, at least at that particular time, not always successful here, but at the moment, I was like, okay, I'm only a mile from home. This is not an actual emergency. I didn't have anything on the trailer except for a few hand tools, which was nice. It would have been more problematic if that had happened when I had a 1,500-pound machine on it, like I had the week before, and that's probably why. That's probably what sent the bearings on their way out. But I was like, okay, it was like reminding myself that everything when something goes wrong, it's not necessarily an emergency. It's so strange. It's so strange, this, you guys, that I got to the point working on the ambulance where I could walk in with my partner, especially when I had a good partner, into an absolute just shit show of a call. And I would be calm. My partner would be calm. And often family or patients would get mad that we were calm because they thought we weren't taking the problem seriously. We were, but we had no need to freak out. And working with somebody who was prone to freaking out, because I did plenty of shifts like that too, that was awful. That was the worst. So I was like, okay, if I could walk into a very serious critical situation and be calm, then I can look at my, busted trailer and say, okay, this is not frenzy worthy. I have people nearby can sort this out. So in that particular case, I hollered at Tyler, who was not busy, and he grabbed his big trailer, met me down at the Dollar General store, and with a little bit of muscle power and a come along, and a nice Hispanic gentleman who came along and helped us push it up onto his trailer, good to go. And we had it repaired that same day. Took a couple of trips to Northern Tool, but $100 later, brand new hubs, bearings, the whole bit. No permanent damage. Spindle was fine. No biggie. So I realized, I was like, okay, if I can do this on bigger stuff, then why do I get set off when, I don't know, when I'm organizing something and I knock something over and have to pick stuff up? It's real weird. Like this is me like critically trying to figure out why I am the way I am, which is every day of my life. And I don't really have an answer, except that I still have the choice to decide how I'm going to react. So that took me back to, I want to be better at operating in that flow state. So here's how I plan to go about it. This is my game plan for this. I'm going to ease up on, in general, my, I tend to set exceptionally high expectations for myself. I'm easing off the gas on that one. And when I need to take on a somewhat more complex situation, I'm going to break it down into micro tasks. So one example of that is if I'm dealing with clearing, invasive stuff, but I need to be particular about it because I'm not just going to go like scorched earth. I just need to be very methodical about it. One thing I've learned to do is to only target one species at a time. So let's just say I'm just clipping out privet and taking it to the sheep. That's all I do. And I shorten the task time. So instead of saying, I'm going to spend all day doing this and only this, because I'm apparently way too ADD to do that successfully, I give myself a window of time. And a lot of times it's just like 15 or maybe 30 minutes of that. And then I just check. I'm like, good, that area, that's good enough for me. I'm really embracing, like incremental steps, small bits of progress, that sort of thing. And it also helps if I pair that, that micro task aspect with something that has a very clear, tangible result. Let's say, even if it's like pulling weeds that are going to the rabbits, I've accomplished two things. I have fed rabbits, I have pulled weeds, and I know that's becoming compost. So to me, that is rewarding in and of itself. A lot of the times, especially, I'm sure you guys know, on a farm or homestead, you spend so much time just keeping things alive that you don't really see, the results of your work. And that can be kind of a downer after time. So make sure I add in something else, even if it's like making, some kind of little small creative thing. Like I have an idea about making some actual signage. I don't know what I'm going to call everything yet, but I want to make some actual signage to label all the different paddocks. Kind of thinking about naming them after places in Middle Earth, or maybe even the Shire, Hobbiton. So we'll see. I don't want to name any of my pastures Mordor for sure. So maybe we'll go with like places that aren't full of evil. So that is, tangible results, very beneficial, like good for me, good in my mind and my heart when I go to bed, that um, I achieve things. And that's one of the reasons why this lifestyle, I think, is so appealing to me, because, for folks that are do a lot of repetitive work without any real result, a lot of like office and administrative kind of stuff is kind of the same stuff day in and day out. That is, and I've done just enough of that to know that I can't, and that it is like just kill me now kind of thing, if that was my life. I think as humans we are wired to need to see accomplishment, to need to see results from our efforts. I think that might be one of the reasons why one of my very favorite things to do is to plant, because, and to sow seeds and to plant trees and to blend all these things together, because the inevitable results are just so rewarding, and it's over and over and over. All right, so another aspect that I struggle with are distractions. Um, I don't really want to go down the whole realm of neurotypical versus neurodivergent. I think we're all unique, and I think everybody's brain kind of operates in certain ways. And I hate the word normal anyhow. So, but I have come to realize, like in my 40s now, it can be, I'm so easily distracted. I don't care. I don't know if it's ADD. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to go to a doctor and get a diagnosis, and I'm certainly not going to take any medication about it. But I do want to understand why my brain works the way it does, so that I can, I can kind of improve and not be stressed out by how I am. One day I told Angel, I was just like, it just seemed like everything I was trying to do, something else jumped up. I go to do this, and it would be, broken or missing a part or whatever the case may be. So I try to switch to something else. And I said something to her to the effect of, I am really not liking myself right now. Like, I just could not get my brain to dial in on something. Which is weird, because I can also, and maybe this is typical of that so-called condition. I can also, like, if something really grabs my interest, I will devour everything I can get my hands on about it. Books, podcasts, whatever the case may be. I will absolutely, go all the way down the rabbit hole and back out again. So it's like I can focus, but if it's like these little menial kind of tasks, but stuff that has to happen, can really, I can get real mucked up in that. So if a distraction arises, I am training myself to ask, is it crucial that I steer in another direction right now? So it was like the other day I was in the mood to cut wood, and I'm kind of one of these, like, I will not run the chainsaw if I'm feeling off, and I certainly won't run it if I'm feeling aggravated or anything like that. It's just a bad combo for me. So so I was like in the mood, going to run the saw, going to cut some wood, all that kind of stuff. Got all geared up for it, and the saw was being a jerk. I was not in the mood to work on the saw. So I just ended up borrowing a saw from Tyler until I could get my other one serviced, which I did later when I was in the mood to do it. And so a lot of this is kind of riding that line between, am I in the mood to do something, versus what's it going to take to find enjoyment in this particular task. And then sometimes I do take into account, there is such a thing as intuition and synchronicity and stuff. And maybe, maybe for that period of time, I didn't need to be running a saw. or because I think I ended up working. I think I decided to work on wood somewhere else than my original plan because of where I picked up the saw. So there's that aspect too. So I'm getting to where I can kind of train myself. Do I need to address this other thing right away, or can I just make a note in my phone to come back and deal with it? Because there are days where I feel like I have walked all over this place and done almost nothing, and that's really frustrating for me. So that's another kind of, I want to be in this state of, kind of, I don't even want to call it in the zone or whatever, but just enjoying and being in that moment with whatever it is I'm doing. I want to be acting and operating with more intention. You get a beverage break here. Okay, so prior to heading out to get stuff done, my next step is to set the intention. So sometimes I will be in this mood of, well, I've got to get this done. Sometimes, like lately, this has been like firewood, right? Because we've been so cold, and for whatever reason, I just didn't feel like I had as much put away as I normally do. But we've got down wood all over this place. It's just a matter of cutting it up and getting it in the dry. I've made a little mental note to just, and I start my mornings with this anyhow when I come outside to check on all the animals, but just to set the intention. I just kind of put it out there like, hey universe, like, thank you for another day. I'm going to like, this is kind of what I have in mind for the day. I would like to go about these tasks with with peacefulness and joy and harmony. And that does help. And at any time, I can reset myself to that status, to that request. And a lot of deep breathing gets plugged into this as well. So one thing that I've had to work on, like I've been on the computer a little bit more lately, putting together my class list, doing this marketing class with Sandy and that sort of thing. And for whatever reason, it's a brand new computer. It's not very fast. It's kind of slow to load certain programs. And normally I'm like, come on. Like, I'm just super, I'm just ready to like punch the screen because I really don't have a lot of patience for technology. And so in those moments where a piece of technology is being slow, I just pause and I just take a few deep breaths. And if that just means I end up taking 5,000 deep breaths a day, then that's all right. It's not hurting anything, and it's certainly better than steam coming out of my ears because technology is getting on my last nerve. So intention, pausing for deep breaths. There was a time when I was still working at the bakery when I started kind of getting back into this sort of thing. I was able to get into a real good flow state at that job for sure. That was the nice thing about that, because there was a lot of repetitive tasks and running that machine and everything, and I could just, it was nice. But I actually set a little timer. I think I had it set for every half hour to do, I think it was like 3 or 4 rounds of box breathing. This is the thing they teach in the military. There's a lot of different labels for it. Some people also call it fourfold breathing, I believe. But you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you exhale for 4 seconds, and then you wait 4 seconds before you take in another breath. Really good at resetting yourself if you're able to do this. And if you're somebody that's got like COPD or whatever, and that is hard, like, do it even if it's just 2 seconds and you can work your way back up. There's a bunch of therapists who teach that. It's good for mind, body, lungs, and the whole bit. So I will do fourfold breathing when I kind of start to feel myself skidding sideways in the mood. Another little preference of mine, which I found this to be so stinking useful when I'm working on the computer, paired with the deep breathing, is to pull up some ambient music on YouTube. There is a really good channel where they have, it's called like Bilbo at his desk or something like that. And obviously, I'm a Lord of the Rings freak. I'm a nerd, and it is just background noise. You can hear like writing on paper, a little bit of rain, and then the background music. And it's got a little bit of like some of the themes from Lord of the Rings, and it's soothing but engaging. And I've been playing that or versions of it when I'm working my way through stuff that really requires my focus, like making a calendar of classes. And it's pretty magical, actually. It's a super super good option for those of us who kind of we do better if we're listening to something. Like I can't work on the computer if I'm writing anything. I cannot work and listen to a podcast. My brain can't split the channels in that way. But if it's something ambient like that, or binaural beats is another one. So different, they're transmitted on different frequencies: theta waves, delta waves, gamma waves, all this different brainwave frequency. So you can use them for calming, you can use them for meditation, you can use them for focus, you can use them for energy. There are a bunch of different apps out there, a bunch of stuff on YouTube too that can just be downloaded. And speaking of YouTube, I gave myself a gift this year. It's like $13 a month for ad-free YouTube. Worth it. Because one of the things I noticed, it's like if you can spend a few dollars to save yourself some headache, by all means. YouTube is one of the first things I pull up when I need to fix something. If I'm working on any kind of machinery or whatever. And when I am in the moment of, I need to get this fixed, and I have to sit through some BS ad and be interrupted by ads, it just, so yeah, I believe me, I went back and forth on it for the longest time. I was like, YouTube, they've censored people, all this stuff has happened. They've taken down people's channels. Do I really want to give them money? But it's like, look, I'm already engaging with the app. It's a tool. It's a business tool. So I'm paying for it. And I paid for it for about a month now. And it's such a huge difference. And you get a bunch of other stuff with it too. You can download stuff. Yeah, so nice little hack there. I have to say it's made a tremendous difference of just not being interrupted, not letting my thought flow and my focus be interrupted by that kind of thing. Let's see, I'm gonna check my other notes here. So back to like especially when I'm working outside, when I'm interacting with nature, I really push this quite a bit, is the observe and interact principle of permaculture, which I often feel gets overlooked. And so I am always taking myself back to, okay, I have altered something a little bit, or I plan to. What am I noticing first during the process? All kinds of stuff like that. So I'm working on staying really grounded in that observe and interact aspect of everything going on with the farm. And I just noticed so much more stuff by staying in that space, instead of, being so frenzied from one thing to the next, trying to feel like I'm trying to keep my head above water on all the tasks to be managed. One aspect was, I had it in my head for whatever silly reason that I could only get fresh greens for the rabbits from like certain areas, which is silly. Like, we've got 10 acres. I mean, more than that actually, but 10 that we're responsible for. Like, I'm pretty sure I can keep finding through most of winter fresh stuff for the rabbits to eat. And um, I've been taking evenings to just, before the sun goes down, just kind of walking around, walking areas that I don't walk as often, and found this like great, amazing patch of chickweed that's growing underneath a cedar tree. And there's weeks worth of chickweed growing there. So I've been harvesting that lightly, and the rabbits are continuing to have fresh greens, and they're happy and free food and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, we'll lock our brains inadvertently, I'm sure, but we'll get into these boxes, these thought boxes, action boxes, and that's really aggravating when you come to think about it. So I've been kind of pushing myself to expand, explore more, upset the apple cart, upset the routine in a good way. And I'm working on, keeping content coming for the expert council, the foraging content. And you get into the dead of winter and you're like, man, there's not a whole lot going on around here. So that's kind of pushed me to get more creative and ask more questions. Privet gets a bad rap around here, not as bad as it used to, since I know that the sheep like it, but recently found that there are apparently some medicinal value to privet berries. Can't say much more about it at the moment. I just ran across just enough information to be like, hey, maybe I need to reconsider my attitude towards this plant. So, and then just at the real baseline, if nothing else, keep my body without an insulator. So keep my body actually grounded, as much as possible. I tend to work, even when I'm mulching and spreading wood chips and stuff. Once I dump it, I'd rather get down on my hands and knees and spread them by hand than to use a rake, which, gets me grounded, gets me in contact with the ground when I'm otherwise obviously wearing rubber-soled boots this time of year. So that's kind of my, those are sort of my notes and my approach right now for just being a little more mindful, a little more, flow state, a state of ease. And I'll tell you one of the things that kind of inspired this. Angel and I have been watching they're short episodes. They're about an hour long, and they're just this documentary of this elderly couple. It seems to be Russia, or at least that part of the world. I'm pretty sure they're speaking Russian. There are no captions. There are no subtitles. We have no idea what they're saying. So we just watched this. They're just, these two people that were probably in their 70s, and they have this little farm out in this beautiful area. They're kind of in this little valley, all these mountains around, just, absolutely beautiful. And it's not, like I said, because there's no narration. I understand nothing in terms of language. We're picking up everything off of context and such. And it's just watching them just go through their day. It kind of, every episode kind of starts with them having their breakfast, going out to check all the animals, and then it's whatever tasks they're doing that day. Sometimes they're, they're always milking. Sometimes they're doing firewood, or they're planting, or they're harvesting, or, in one they go to a neighbor to visit a neighbor who's sick and take her some food. And I was watching this, and they're always joyful and appreciative, and they they have some kind of, I have no idea what their faith is. I'm kind of ignorant on what Catholicism looks like over there, but that's my best guess, because they have there's crucifix and pictures of Mary and all that kind of stuff, and they have a little prayer and ritual that they do before their evening meal. And they just seem so content. And I watch these folks, and I'm just, we watch it. And I'm just that is my goal right there. That is what I want to be as an old man. Not bothered. They play with the cat. They play with the dog. They're always smiling. They're always eating the food always looks amazing. It's all these different stews and soups and potatoes and just it just looks wonderful. And I'm like, there's nothing stopping me from getting to that point. So, and they pretty much, they have electricity, and they have some modern amenities. I don't think they have a TV or anything. They have like a little flip phone. There's episodes where their son comes and visits and that sort of thing, but it's just, just much closer to how we're probably more or less designed and to operate. So that's kind of my goals right there. So let me hop back here in the comments. I want to make sure, pardon me, that I acknowledge everybody. Hippocrates is here. Tim's here. Good to see you, Tim. Pip and Ice is checked in. Digger's here. All right, let's see here. Weather check. 29 degrees in down there in Arkansas. Surprise precipitation last night. And you've been consolidating the solar. Cool. Yeah, I've actually got, speaking of the power system here, I picked up from Signature Solar the EG4. It's a little status display, little digital status display that goes to the batteries. We can mount it in the kitchen where we can both see it. Because right now, if I want to check anything, I have to get in the loft. And when I'm not here, that's not very convenient for Angel. So, in fact, Angel can't get in the loft, so that's not an option at all. So, I'm going to get with my buddy Miles and have him out and have him help me hook it all up. Because I've read the instructions and I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of want an electrician with me on this. So we'll trade Miles and his crew a good meal and some fellowship for a little bit to get this thing hooked up. I can't think of what it's actually called, but it's on Signature Solar's website. It's about $150, but it'll let me see all three batteries, incoming PV, outgoing usage, and all that, just kind of the critical stuff. And there's apparently also some firmware update for those batteries. And I got the dongle from Signature Solar, and I can't get it to talk to these batteries. And that was something else I was going to talk to Miles about, or maybe check in with Sean at some point. But yeah, I can't get it to talk. And I followed the instructions, and I've been through it 3 or 4 times until I just had to set it aside because guess what? I was getting frustrated with it. I've realized that I get frustrated very easily if I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around a concept that is outside my interest, basically, and that would be, programming stuff, electrical stuff. Like I have to know how to do it to some extent, but I haven't really warmed up to it at all. It's just been like necessity. All right, let's see here. Tim says, like the Japanese, pride in everything that you do, sweeping the floor, digging hole. It's really a good point because, American society has kind of led us to be so focused on getting to the next outcome and even engaging in so much consumerism that we don't take as much pride as a general rule. But when I'm around people who don't want to take shortcuts, like it really makes me kind of want to level up in that way. So that's an excellent point. Fuckery says, often say on the unit or truck or on the floor, we subconsciously erect walls or force fields around it as a way of walling off and protecting ourselves from the chaos that can come at any second. Then let me follow up with that. Then when out of that situation or role, we lower them. The danger can be when we have lowered the barriers and the show sneaks up and bites us when we aren't ready. The reaction is different. It's a great point. I actually used to do this kind of like mental exercise when I would be, we'd be preparing our truck, our unit for the day. And I would just kind of walk around the unit after we'd done all the equipment checks and everything and just kind of like erect this sort of mental force field, really is how I visualized it. And basically I was like, all right, we're going to have smooth shift. we're gonna come home, all's gonna be good, and it worked. I mean, it's you to some people that's a form of prayer. Of mine, I mean, I had a blended version of that. I think we're powerful beings. I think our intentions can really set the tone. That kind of thing matters. I also think there is most certainly a creator and a spiritual element. I'm not real worried about throwing labels on it at this stage in my life, but that is also very much a real thing. And so, yeah, so I put in requests to look after things and to give me a hand. And that's a good point. Is like, guys, we don't have to do this on our own. I mean, I'm not going to assume what folks' belief systems are out there, but I will say if you don't have something, perhaps you should. We're in an era where we can read up and find out about any kind of belief system and see if any of it resonates with you. That's one of the things that really helps me, is that I don't feel like I'm trying to figure all this out alone. And every now and then I'll just be like, I'm kicking this problem upstairs. I will await further instruction and input from energies that can see the long view that I'm not quite capable of seeing in this moment. So that's an excellent point. Good to see you here, Pippin. I hope you're not too cold down there. Daily intention to not end up on the news. Bingo. I saw a funny little like a mom talking to her teenager before he was like going out for the night. She said, there's 3 rules. Do not, don't go to jail. Do not add to the population. Do not subtract from the population. So, good points there all around. Tim always likes to flop on the ground or use the back to, let me clarify. Tim likes to flop on the ground, spread mulch, or the backside of the leaf rake. Yeah, that's kind of my go-to. I don't want stuff piled up right up on a tree, and I don't also want to, especially like a young little tree, I don't want to scuff the bark. So yeah, I just kind of get in there and sort of scatter it around and make sure it's not all piled up on it. The universe promotes life. That's true. Abundance is the rule, guys, and I have to remind myself from time to time, especially this time of year when everything's in dormancy. So I'm always reminding myself, it's not dead out there, it's dormant, it's resting. And it's okay for me to do some resting too. Abundance is the rule. That is how things operate. And we just kind of got to remind ourselves to lean into that, set aside the fear mongering, step away from all the whole societal political show that's out there. Don't mind all that. It's silliness. Most of it's fake. And stay in touch with the real deal. Beth is letting me know that I'm going to be an old happy hobbit. I'm working on it. I have the fuzzy toes to start, so I'm already well on my way. My feet aren't huge. I got small feet, but I got the fuzzy toes covered. When I watched, so I'm gonna back up for a second here. I actually did not see the Lord of the Rings films until my 30s. That was one of those things. I went through a time where if something was like really, really super popular in film or television or whatever, I was just kind of automatically contrary about it for no good reason, really. I really felt that way about Harry Potter, and to this day, I still have not watched any Harry Potter. But one day, I told Angel, I was like, we should probably watch these films. And then not long after, I picked up the books. And so, we watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then it became one of those where we do, about once a year, we just do a binge of it through a weekend or whatever. And then The Hobbit, and I love the Hobbit trilogy too. Love all those films. And when I first saw, definitely identify with the Hobbits. I mean, that is very, very close. Like, if I could just, tend the gardens and play music and do all, I mean, that's a wonderful life to me. If I had to go to Mordor, I would, and I could. And I just love those stories. But what really grabbed me was when Radagast comes out of the woods on a sleigh being pulled by giant rabbits, I was like, that's my spirit animal right there. I mean, that was like, I am going to be, I would probably be like a cross between Frodo, Sam, and Radagast. A little, maybe a little crazy, a little eccentric, also loyal, but brave. That's kind of my goal. That's my old man goal right there. And Hippocrates wants to know how many breakfasts. I can put away some food. So I also kind of do the intermittent fasting thing, which is I'm sure that is heresy in Hobbiton, but I do a late breakfast, but I can put away some lunch and dinner for sure. And it's funny how much of the language and the line, I'm losing my word here, but the dialogue from the film, how much of it makes its way into our day-to-day life. It's all the time. Pip and I says it's 3 movies about walking. It is. And they're some of the greatest films ever. I have not paid any mind to the Rings of Power stuff. I heard enough negative about it. I was like, I'm one of those things. I don't really want to be, I don't want to have a bad taste in my mouth about Tolkien's work. So at some point I need to dig into other works of Tolkien, the Silmarillion and all that kind of stuff too. So it comes in pints. But you already had a whole half. So yeah. We when we moved, we traded in all of our DVDs. We don't have our DVDs anymore because we don't have a TV. But we can rent stuff from the library. And I'm starting to think that it's about time with this cold weather. It's about time to rent that so that we can enjoy those films in with the wood stove and cats and the dog and comfort and all that kind of stuff. So Digger says he had a high of 8 and Pippin had a high of 74. Must be nice there, Pippin. Yeah, so I think we're supposed to hit, let's see what the latest is. We're going to hit, it's 28 right now. We just plunge, like we started off today at like 37 and it's just dove all day long with snow off and on. Low of 11 tonight, low of 7 on Tuesday. Yeah, we're going to be sunny tomorrow. So that's nice. I think I'm going to work on splitting some wood. As long as I'm moving, I'm all right. And I got good enough gear. I'll be fine. So, and yeah, I think we'll wrap it on this. I like this a lot. It's a dangerous thing walking outside your door because I am so much of a hobbit. Like I really don't want to be away from home. Like it's my happy place. It's my safe place. It's just, I'm super, super linked in to home and to the land. But when I do get out, I kind of do treat it like a little micro adventure in my mind. I think like, if I was a hobbit, what would that be like? And how could I frame this experience in that manner? So yeah, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for listening to my rambling and hearing me in real time. Try to sort out my stuff. I got my class list up for spring is pretty much covered. I've got a little bit of summer listings. I will probably add more. So if you go to the classes and events page at strongrootsresources.com, all of those are up. Please share that. Send that to people who, this is all stuff that's taking place on the farm in the Knoxville area. Feel free to share that around. If folks are hearing this after the fact on the replay and you would like me out to teach, that class list covers everything that I can teach, with the exception of probably the sheep class. All that stuff I can teach anywhere. I can teach it on any property at a public place. It's all pretty portable. I've just got it set up here where I can also lead tours of what I'm describing. So really appreciate you guys sharing that work. This is the year I'm putting my biggest push so far into on-farm income. A little less being away, a little less installation work, more teaching here on the farm or traveling to teach. That's also cool. So, yeah, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Stay warm, take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you next time.